You must realize the power you hold in your mind, in your heart, and in your soul. Today is not an accident. Today is a gift. Yesterday was not guaranteed, and tomorrow is not owed. All we have is today. You can't rewrite this moment, this hour, this day. This day is rare. It won't ever happen again. It can't be repeated. You have this power. You are fortunate enough to be here now. And when you realize this power, when you see that you have agency over this one life, over your decisions, your perceptions, your attitude, you begin to walk with power. Not arrogance, not aggression, but in a strength silent, grounded, unshakable. This is the ultimate realization that some people discover too late in life. When we are younger, it is much harder to see. We take our time for granted. We take health, love, and opportunity for granted. But eventually, life offers us moments of reflection. We all become open to this wisdom. We just need to be reminded. This is your reminder. Take this wisdom. Make it your power. Walk with confidence. Speak with conviction. Live fully. Don't hold grudges or resentment. They are like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. If you feel those emotions, process them. Don't bury them, but do not let them take residence in your heart. Remind yourself to let it go because life is short, and you have your power right now. The pain, the anger, the frustration, none of it will matter eventually. Marcus Aurelius said, "Receive without conceit, release without struggle." Life moves. Life flows. Nothing is static. The issues that trigger you, the fear that grabs you, the wounds that still ache, these are temporary. The good, the bad, the ugly, none of it lasts. And this is not a curse. This is a gift. This is what gives life its value. This is what builds your character. As Marcus also said, the memory of everything is very soon overwhelmed in time. And perhaps most importantly, we live only now. Everything else is either past or is unknown. So what do we do with this now? We walk with power. Chapter 1. The Foundation of Power. Control what you can. The Stoics taught us one of the most essential truths of life. Some things are in our control, and some are not. Epictetus begins his Enchiridion with this idea because it is the cornerstone of a powerful life. The moment you internalize this is the moment you stop wasting energy. You stop trying to bend reality to your will and instead start directing your will where it matters, your thoughts, your actions, your character. True power begins here, not with brute force, not with loudness, but with clarity. When you no longer obsess over what you cannot control, you free yourself from suffering. When you focus on your responses instead of the outcomes, you become a master of yourself. A powerful individual is not someone who never feels anger or fear or doubt. A powerful individual is someone who sees those emotions rise, acknowledges them, and decides what to do next consciously. This kind of discipline is not built overnight. It's a muscle, and like any muscle, it must be exercised daily, deliberately, and with awareness. It begins in the small moments, the seemingly trivial decisions that shape the habits of our mind. In your conversations, in your thoughts, in your conflicts, pause, breathe, return to yourself. Ask, is this within my control? If the answer is no, release it. Do not argue with the sky or demand the river flow backward. If the answer is yes, then own it. Take responsibility, not just as a burden but as a privilege. True inner strength is born when you choose to remain grounded instead of reactive, when you refuse to be pulled by the chaos of the world. The more you practice this, the more you begin to understand your power, not in controlling events but in mastering your response to them. This is where most people stumble again and again. They exhaust themselves trying to change people, trying to fix outcomes, trying to wrestle life into submission. They obsess over things they were never meant to carry, becoming weighed down by burdens that don't belong to them. They believe if they can control the chaos around them, they can find peace. But peace doesn't come from taming the storm. It comes from anchoring the self. They seek power in the external, in status, validation, outcomes, appearances, and inevitably, they are disappointed. But the Stoic doesn't seek that path. The Stoic shifts the battlefield inward. The Stoic recognizes that the only realm where lasting power resides is within. The Stoic want control over themselves, their tongue, their impulses, their reactions, their story. They focus on governing their desires, curbing their ego, choosing integrity over ego, stillness over urgency. In that kind of mastery, they find real strength. The kind that doesn't rise and fall with external tides. The kind that doesn't crumble under pressure. The kind that doesn't need applause to feel secure. The Stoics stand still while others panic, while crowds rush to judgment, while the noise of the world screams for attention. They remain composed. Their calm is not the result of ignorance, but of immense self-awareness. They have trained their mind to remain anchored even in the fiercest storms. They endure the whirlwind without being tossed by it, not because they are numb, but because they are rooted in something deeper, principle, reason, and a quiet understanding that chaos is not new and peace is always internal. They stay rooted in principle even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's inconvenient. While others abandon their values when tested, the Stoic clings tighter to them. They walk with quiet power, not because they dominate others or seek control, but because they have dominion over themselves. Their emotions do not rule them. Their ego does not blind them, and their pride does not dictate their decisions. Their authority comes from within, a strength not based on appearance but essence. This kind of strength does not flare up with pride nor fade in hardship. It doesn't depend on circumstances or require validation. It grows stronger when ignored, more solid when tested. It is the kind of power that doesn't raise its voice to be heard because its presence alone demands respect. It is the kind that doesn't waver when the world does. The kind that bends but does not break. The kind that stands when everything else falls, and when the dust settles, it is still there, unmoved, intact, whole. It is a power of true resilience, born from discipline, forged through adversity, and sharpened by daily practice. At the beginning of each day, write down 3 things. What is in your control today? What is not? And how will you respond with strength and composure no matter what happens? Repeat this every morning. Watch how your clarity sharpens and your peace deepens. Chapter 2. Walking with inner stability. Powerful people are not easily shaken. Their power is not loud. It is stable. Think of a tree that stands firm in the wind. It doesn't avoid the storm. It is rooted so deeply that it can sway without breaking. That's how you must learn to live. That's what walking with power truly looks like. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of what unsettles us is not the event itself. It's the fear of it, the projection, the assumptions we attach to it. A powerful mind doesn't run wild with panic. It sits with the situation and meets it as it is. You do not gain stability by controlling life. You gain it by controlling your judgments. Every day offers a new challenge. And in every challenge lies an opportunity to anchor yourself deeper, to respond instead of react, to observe instead of explode. Life will never be without problems. That is the nature of existence, to be constantly tested, stretched, and called to evolve. Each day presents a fresh invitation to grow, to adapt, to demonstrate your character. Some challenges will be small and passing, little storms that come and go without much damage. Others may be deep, enduring, and shake you to your core. But no matter the shape or size, they will come one way or another. Yet the more you practice calm, the more you train yourself to meet life rather than resist it. You stop wishing for ease and start preparing for excellence. You begin to recognize that peace is not found in a problem-free life, but in a problem-resilient mind, a mind fortified by clarity, strengthened by self-awareness, and guided by virtue. When you meet each obstacle not with panic, but with presence, you weaken its grip over you. You refuse to let it dictate your actions or emotions. You become the one who sets the tone for your internal world. The storms may rage outside, financial setbacks, betrayals, heartbreaks, failures, but inside there can still be clarity, focus, and peace. This is not detachment. It is strength. It is what allows you to walk through fire without being consumed by it. Calm is not passivity. It is deliberate mastery, forged in daily discipline. Each time you choose calm, you are building a fortress inside yourself. Each time you choose calm, you are choosing power. You are building a sanctuary within that cannot be invaded by external chaos, no matter how loud, no matter how fierce. And the longer you live this way, the more natural it becomes. At first, it may feel forced. You may have to remind yourself 100 times a day to return to calm. You may stumble. You may react. But slowly, over time, it becomes instinct. You begin to feel it in your bones, that clarity, that composure, that inner balance. You don't have to fake peace. You embody it. It radiates from you, not because you pretend, but because you've earned it through presence, through practice, through pain. Problems no longer dictate your mood or identity. You don't collapse at the first sign of adversity. You don't define yourself by what happens to you, but by how you respond. They become opportunities. Opportunities to demonstrate discipline, to refine your virtue, and to anchor yourself deeper into reason. You stop seeing life as something to survive and start seeing it as something to shape, intentionally, courageously, consciously. In this way, the calm you cultivate becomes your power. It becomes the very ground beneath your feet, the rhythm in your breath, the stillness behind your eyes. It shields your focus like armor, not allowing the noise of the world to pierce your clarity. It guards your energy like a disciplined soldier, only spending what is essential, never leaking it into distraction or drama. It steadies your mind like the roots of an ancient oak that has survived every season and storm, that knows the winds come and go, but the ground remains. Problems still come, but they do not rule you. They reveal you. They strip away the unnecessary, leaving only what's real, what's essential, what's eternal. When the world shakes, it is not the polished surface that endures. It is the solid foundation. And problems, no matter how painful or disorienting, force us to inspect that foundation. They uncover the cracks we've ignored. They challenge the stories we've told ourselves. They tear away illusion and demand honesty. They show you who you are, not the curated image, but the deeper self beneath the roles, the masks, and the expectations. And they show you who you're becoming, offering a mirror, however uncomfortable, that reflects your growth, your values, your response. In facing them, you become sharper. You grow more deliberate. You walk a clearer path. The distractions that once pulled at you fade. The noise that once clouded you quiets. In that hardship, your character is carved. Your virtues, patience, discipline, humility, courage, are not just discussed but embodied. They awaken the hidden strength within you, not the kind you access only when things are easy, but the strength that emerges when you think you can't go on, and then you do. The strength that comes from rising, from enduring, from standing tall when it would be easier to crumble. And that, more than any external victory, is where true power resides. Not in being untouched by life, not in pretending everything is okay, but in meeting life as it is and rising through it again and again with dignity, clarity, and quiet fire. That is the power that no one can give you and no one can take away. It is yours alone, earned through your trials, sealed in your silence, and expressed in how you carry yourself forward. In moments of stress, say to yourself, this is only a test. Remind yourself that this tension, this pressure, this discomfort, it's all part of your training. It's a rehearsal for the kind of person you're becoming. Then ask, how would the best version of myself respond right now? Picture that version of yourself, calm, composed, thoughtful, and step into their shoes. Feel their breath, their pace, their patience. Give yourself 10 seconds of breath before you speak or act. Not just as a pause, but as a reset, a sacred intermission where your higher self has a chance to rise above impulse. Let this time become your practice field, 10 seconds that represent the bridge between reaction and reason. With each breath, let your body settle like water in a still pond. Let your thoughts slow down, from frantic to focused. Let your heart soften, from pressure to presence. This moment isn't wasted. It's a seed planted in the soil of wisdom. Create that space between impulse and action where wisdom can enter. It is in that space that clarity can speak, where emotion transforms into intention. Those 10 seconds may feel small, even insignificant in the moment, but over time, they shape everything. They train your nervous system. They teach you patience. They build a rhythm in your life that others will feel even if they don't know why. They will build a life of wisdom, not by accident, but by conscious effort, repeated across thousands of moments. Each time you take that breath, you're reminding yourself, I am not my anger. I am not my fear. I am the one who chooses what to do with them. A life where stress becomes your teacher, not your tyrant. A life where tension becomes your training ground. And you, through each decision, each breath, become the student who grows into the teacher. the one who chooses strength over struggle, clarity over chaos, and power over panic. That is what you're building, moment by moment, breath by breath. Chapter 3. Speak like a sage. Words hold power, far more than most realize. They can destroy trust or build empires. They can start wars or heal hearts. They can spark revolutions, mend families, uplift the broken, or crush the hopeful. The Stoics were masters of measured speech. They knew that to speak wisely is to live wisely, and that language is not simply a form of expression but a mirror of the mind. Epictetus warned, "Let silence be your goal for the most part. Say only what is necessary, and be brief about it." Why? Because careless words are like arrows shot in the dark. They wound without intent. They create chaos where there could be clarity. The wise hold their tongue until their thoughts are ready. They know that silence is never wasted when it is purposeful. Too often, we speak to fill silence, to impress others, to gain approval, to escape awkwardness, or to defend our pride. We use words as shields, as distractions, as props in performances we think we must give. But a person who walks with power speaks with purpose. They understand that not every silence needs to be broken, and not every opinion must be voiced. They speak when their word can build something: clarity, connection, courage. They do not gossip because they know the price of cheap talk, how it diminishes both the speaker and the subject. They do not shout because they understand that truth doesn't need volume. It carries its own gravity. They do not lie to avoid discomfort because they know that momentary ease is a poor trade for long-term integrity. Every word you say is a reflection of your discipline. It is a signature of your mind. It is a shape of your thoughts pressed into the world. Word can set the tone of a room, steer the course of a relationship, shape the inner world of the listener. They carry the echo of your emotional state, your values, and your self-awareness. What you say is not just about communication. It's about legacy. Your words, even the ones spoken casually, become seeds. Some will bloom into trust, compassion, and clarity. Others may wither into resentment, division, or regret. Choose them with care. Speak not to impress, but to express truth. Speak not to control, but to connect. Speak not from ego, but from understanding. Your speech should be clean, not cluttered with anxiety or pretense. It should be rooted in what matters, not tangled in what's trending. Ask yourself, am I saying this to serve the moment or to serve my image? The answer will reveal your motive, and that motive, whether it stems from wisdom or insecurity, will determine the effect your words leave behind. Words should never be used as a mask or as ammunition. They should be guided by reason and shaped by compassion. A Stoic does not weaponize words. They use them as tools to build bridges, not burn them, to sow peace, not stir conflict, to elevate dialogue, not degrade it. They understand that words are not neutral. They carry weight, consequence, and energy. Every utterance is a transaction, a reflection of character and judgment. They do not rely on noise to gain attention. They trust the substance of silence and the clarity of a well-placed phrase. They understand that restraint is not weakness but strength, and that sometimes the most impactful voice is a quiet one, grounded in truth. And so, the powerful choose their words slowly, wisely, and with deep respect for their impact. They take their time before they speak, understanding that a rushed response may be more about emotion than clarity. They measure not just the logic of their words, but their tone, their timing, and their necessity. They are patient with their language, understanding that a pause can often say more than a flood of speech. Their silence is not hesitation. It is consideration. They seek clarity over cleverness, sincerity over performance, meaning over momentum. They know that each word holds a piece of their character. A well-spoken phrase can guide a friend through darkness. A careless one can destroy years of trust. They weigh their speech like a craftsman selects his tools, mindfully, precisely, and with intention. And so, they speak with the intention to heal, to uplift, to instruct, and when needed, to remain silent. Because sometimes, silence is the wisest word of all. Sometimes, it is the most courageous. In silence, there is restraint, dignity, and strength. Silence is not the absence of words, but the presence of depth. And it is from that silence that the most meaningful words are born, words that are deliberate, rare, and wrapped in wisdom, not ego. Chapter 4. Power in stillness, not rush. In a world addicted to speed, stillness is a power move. It defies the culture of urgency. It stands in contrast to the noise and haste that dominate modern life. The Stoics practiced stillness, not as passivity, but as mastery, a form of mental and emotional control rooted in awareness. They understood that the frantic rush of the world was often a symptom of fear of missing out, fear of inadequacy, fear of silence itself. But the person who is calm, deliberate, unhurried, that person carries true power. Their presence speaks louder than noise, and their clarity cuts through confusion. Stillness is not a withdrawal from life, but a deeper engagement with it. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire. Yet, amid the burden of that power, he still carved time each morning to write, to reflect, to return to himself. That's not weakness. That's strength. That's leadership of the highest kind. His stillness was not inaction but intention, a quiet discipline that made him more capable, more aware, more effective. In his stillness, he accessed his own wisdom and shaped his empire with thoughtfulness rather than haste. When you move through life with stillness, you don't miss your own wisdom. You begin to hear the internal compass that modern distractions try to mute. You don't skip the quiet cues of your conscience. You respond instead of react. You don't drown in distractions or get swept away by temporary emotions. You stay centered, not because life isn't chaotic, but because you've chosen to anchor yourself in something deeper. Stillness is not about inactivity. It's about presence, about being so deeply rooted in awareness that your actions arise from intention, not impulse. It's not about doing less, but about doing what matters most with your full attention. It's about doing things with care, with thoughtfulness, and with a clear mind that is not muddled by distractions or driven by the anxious push of time. In a world obsessed with urgency, choosing stillness is an act of resistance. It's an act of self-respect. It's about doing things with intention and clarity rather than speed and noise. When you live with stillness, you're not sluggish. You are focused. You don't abandon movement. You refine it. You become efficient without being frantic, productive without being hurried. You align your energy with your purpose, not with pressure. You can move quickly but still move from stillness, like an archer who draws a bow only after steadying their breath. Every action becomes more powerful because it comes from your center, not your chaos. You can lead with decisiveness yet remain composed. You don't have to yell to be heard, nor rush to be effective. Stillness brings gravity to your presence. People feel your calm, and it becomes a stabilizing force. In meetings, in conflict, in moments of crisis, your steadiness becomes your signal. It tells others that you are not reactive. You are reliable. You are grounded. Stillness is a state of mind, not just a pace of life. It is an internal command, a quiet confidence that does not crumble under pressure. It is the ability to remain calm in motion, focused in noise, and thoughtful in action. It gives you the space to choose rather than react, to observe rather than absorb. And in that stillness lies your greatest strength, the power to lead yourself with clarity through a world that has lost its way. It is in that stillness that you find your true power.